Welcome back. Just wanted to start this off by saying, bad news, Spades. 1 out of 1,002 clocks not destroyed. Hate to see it. Hate to see it. Still, 1,000's a big accomplishment. Once in this very universe, you could say, Alternia was home to a peaceful race. Trollkind had never known the corrupting influence in their evolution which led them to perpetual war and violence. That is to say, they'd never known me. As was true of the bellicose world we know, there came to be 12 heroes on this peaceful planet. These heroes too had 12 ancestors whose fortunes were entwined with theirs. These 24 figures of legend were not of this world, but sent from the sky, delivered from a reality not yet conceived. On the eve of their race's extinction, the 12 heroes would begin playing a game. They would make an admirable effort, but they would fail. Their civilization had not prepared them for the rigors of this game, and the ultimate reward would fall shy of their grasp. But their failure was more comprehensive, more systemic, than a result of simple inadequacy so common to young players of the game. Though they could not recognize it for the bad omen it was, this session was not the one in which they had been spawned. Such is the symptom of a subtle glitch affecting certain sessions. An error designed to trigger an unfathomable cascade of misfortune throughout Paradox space. This glitch is the calling card of the one I serve. It is the discreet, gentlemanly manner in which he reserves his place in the universe for later visitation. The heroes, understanding their defeat was absolute, sought advice from the mother of all monsters. She offered them a choice. The heroes could either accept their defeat along with the extinction of their race, and put no others at risk, or she could show them a path to a second chance, to a reality in which the chosen heroes of their race would be strong enough to succeed with ease and claim the reward. This reset would come at the cost of wiping the failed heroes from existence. They would live new lives from scratch, playing different roles in the reset reality with no memory of the game they played or the choices they made. The heroes chose to accept the bargain and scratched their session. In doing so, they jump-started the reality in which the 24 figures of legend would together be created, and I as well, and then sent back in time to take our places in history. Though I was delivered well before history even began, before the dawning of life on their planet, this time around I would oversee its development, and thus fulfill the mother's promise of an aggressive, ruthlessly prepared group of heroes, one that would not rest until victory was secured. The young 24 would again be scattered in 2 groups, 12 modern contemporaries and 12 ancients. But in addition to losing their memories of everything that had happened before the scratch, there was another catch for the failed heroes. In the new reality, they would not serve as the heroes. They would mature to become the ancestors of the 12 they formerly regarded as theirs. And this 12 would be chosen for glory. These children would be the heroes to achieve victory and have the reward easily within reach. Of course, this promise was fulfilled to the letter, as you have seen. The entire bargain was executed without a single hitch, as those authorized by my master always are. There was, however, one minor anomaly. One of the failed heroes in his new life as an ancient on the now brutal planet began to remember. This is his story. This is the story of the Signless. Few ever knew the sufferer's given name, presuming quite reasonably he had none, and he came to be called Signless. Unlike his peers, distributed elsewhere in history, he was not given a sign at a young age. Alas, there were no signs reserved for one of his mutant blood. His genetic deviation from the social order made him a pariah, forcing him to wander the world alone for many sweeps, concealing the color of his blood to avoid certain execution. But it may also have been due to his mutation that he began to have the visions. Spontaneous lucid imagery of his world in peace before its fall. He would never see the complete picture, or fully understand his previous incarnation's role in prompting the fall, or know of my hand in it. But the visions showed him all he needed to see. They held the promise of his people's true potential, that beneath ages of conditioned cruelty, they held the spark of evolution. In time, the visions gave purpose to his travels. He would preach heretical ideas no one else had dared to entertain, let alone risk discussing. He espoused the virtues of forgiveness, compassion, and equality among all bloodlines. He distributed his message intelligently, careful to preach only to those receptive, never attracting unwelcome attention. But his growing movement could go unnoticed by the authorities for only so long. The High Bloods were livid over the unprecedented heresy, and soon a massive sectarian war followed, spreading across the planet and throughout the galaxy. The conflict was lopsided, of course, with the High Bloods given full support from the Condes and her Sea Dwellers. Inevitably, the Signless would be captured, and when he was, it was not a matter of whether he would be put to the irons, but how hot they would be if he failed to recant. During his penance, it is said the sufferer's compassion for his people underwent a divine transformation into limitless, burning rage. It burned hotter than the iron shackling him to the imperial flogging jet, and redder than the blood soaking his righteous leggings. When he was finally killed, his anger rung through the cosmos with his last breath. The vast expletive was his final sermon, and somewhere encoded in its wavelengths was the truth in his teachings, waiting to reveal itself to any who would inherit his burden. His teachings would also persist through surviving disciples, but in hushed tones. His following would dwindle to an obscure cult facing persecution for centuries. After his execution, the body was burned, leaving only his irons behind. They cooled in the ash as if his anger itself was subsided, and his followers appropriated their shapes in defiance of the High Bloods. The symbols became the sign of the Signless, always shown as colorless as the cold iron, to conceal the stigma of his hue. This was as much a reminder to his followers to remain hidden as it was of the sufferer's sacrifice, and his rage hidden like heat in the iron, one day to be reignited by another of his bloodline. The sufferer preached that after he passed, another Signless would come, heralding the end times for their planet. The second Signless would continue his work and lead his people to glory beyond the realm. This realm, their realm, I think their realm is better. The followers kept his teachings alive for ages, even as the uproar surrounding the movement subsided. By modern times, the sufferer's scripture was little more than ancient superstition, all but forgotten. Hardly the anathema of old, but the followers had already made their preparations in the shadows, and when the second Signless finally came, he would have a Lucis to raise him and assign to his name. The sufferer required a less conventional upbringing to reach maturity. As a young grub, he landed in the brooding caverns where he would be expected to face his trials. But due to his mutation, surely no Lucis would select him. No creature sympathetic to his scent had been bred yet. His odds for survival would have been remote if not for a chance encounter. The Dolorosa belonged to the rare class assigned strictly to serving the mother grub in the caverns, forbidden from visiting the surface. While on an errand, she found the young sufferer in his crater and immediately recognized the child as special, as well as in great danger. For an adult troll to raise a child was unthinkable, but she saw no other hope for him. The Dolorosa abandoned her duties in the caverns and fled to the surface to raise him. In time, she would become the first follower of his teachings, and the first of his inner circle, but not his closest. Surrounding him on his rise to infamy and throughout the rebellion were the most trusted elites among his devoted. The Psionic was a mage of unequaled telekinetic ability, who upon hearing the words of the sufferer was inspired to free himself from the sort of slavery that's typical of his mentally gifted class. But his most devoted of all was his disciple. She listened to every vision he retold, and every lesson he preached, and faithfully recorded his scripture. Her ear was open to him always, and in time, his heart opened to hers. To spread his message throughout the world, they took to the seas in the vessel of legend known as the First Ship. It was said their love went beyond the four quadrants, transcending the grid entirely, whatever that nonsense actually means. The disciple was to be killed along with him, but at the last moment, the executor inexplicably took pity on her and allowed her to escape. She absconded with the leggings, which remained the only physical evidence of his holy suffering. No, Eridan, get out of here. Now is not time for you. This is acceptable. She hid in the caves for many sweeps, transcribing all of his scriptures from memory on the walls in the blood of slain creatures, and lived the rest of her days in monastic savagery. Her dedication would be critical to the persistence of his message. But the Dolorosa was less fortunate, and was sold into slavery. She spent the rest of her life as property of vicious sea dwellers. As for the Psionic, he was enlisted in a far worse, if more prestigious service. He was forced to serve as the helmsman for her condescension's Imperial battleship. Psychics of his kind were exploited for interstellar travel, and his abilities made her ship the fastest in the fleet by far. She grew so enamored of her helmsman and his power she would use her touch to extend his lifespan to match her own. Together they... sorry, what's going on up there? Pardon me. Miss Paint sees that there's a crack in the fifth wall. Here comes the Huss. Smash. Equip broom. Author's explode. Investigation. Together they explored the stars for thousands of years. Due to the speed of her ship, she would personally expand the boundaries of her empire, typically being the first to greet new races before conquering them. After making first contact, occasions which she generally kept cordial, she would move on to new territory while a division of her fleet set a course for the unfortunate civilization and proceeded to tear it apart. It could be of any of the lethal brigades under her command to receive the orders, be it the Threshercutioners, Cavalry Reapers, Laphassassins, or Rough Annihilators. Each was notoriously cruel in its own way, and each carried out orders with absolute loyalty, because while the Condess could extend a single life on her whim, she could just as casually cut short that of millions. Oh no! Spooky wolf head! If angered, she could simply express her grievances through communion with her ancient luces of the deep, and turn its psychic devastation on her multitudes. The class hierarchy played into her hands politically in this respect. Killing off a haphazard swath of the population or an entire class was suitable as a measure of last resort, but mass extermination does not lend itself well to practical governance. Its looming threat, however, is quite effective, especially while her empire was partitioned neatly into blood castes. She could use her leverage to delegate oppression to the subjugators, whose unique abilities and exceptional brutality made them natural enforcers. They too would delegate in their governance, exploiting the pride and loyalty of dangerous blue bloods beneath them, and so on down the hemospectrum until the enslavement of the common castes was inescapable. In spite of their genetic gifts and strength in numbers, as a self-governing body, the land-dwelling portion of her empire was formidable, but her force of sea dwellers was equally formidable, and the two were kept in check not only with the threat of psychic annihilation, but their mutual hatred and distrust. I almost want to say disgust. Whatever. The only threat to her power was unification through uprising, a possibility made remote once she fully decentralized the race from the homeworld. She scattered all but the children throughout the galaxy after the most recent rebellion led by the Summoner. Upon doing so, she became so comfortable with her grip on power, she risked venturing deeper into space than ever before to grow her empire. But the more space she put herself between Globglib, and the more she risked weakening her bond with the monster. The bond she and her successor shared with it exclusively could sway and become strengthened with the younger. Perhaps she grew complacent with the threats successors posed. After such a long history of killing them with ease, heiresses upon reaching maturity were expected to challenge the Condess for the throne. It was not merely expected of them by their people, but demanded by their luces. I like to think of her as the pet I gave to their race at the dawning of their species evolution, like a sentience-warming gift. Again, it's just the sort of thing a good host does. If the lapse in her custodial bond was significant enough, it was not just political power. Oh wait, what's going on up there? Oh, Puz is still looking around. If lapse in her custodial bond was significant enough, it was not just political power she risked. At such a distance, she sacrificed concentration needed to curb its most dreadful psychic shriek of all, the galaxy-wide extinction event called the Vast Glub. Of course, this eventuality proved a fitting reward for such reckless expansion of her territory. She chose the worst time possible to explore further from the homeworld than she'd ever been. She was scouring the edge of the galaxy for systems to plunder when she received word of her planet's devastation by meteors. The young were being slaughtered. The mother grub was dead. The end times were upon her people. She ordered all fleets to return to Alternia, but such was her empire's expansion and interplanetary occupation, few could make it in time to provide any meaningful defense. She instructed her helmsman to pilot the ship faster than he ever had, and he did so through extreme physical duress. He was able to leap across thousands of light years in a matter of hours. The exertion likely would have killed him, if the glove didn't get to him first. Her touch could extend life, but not restore it, to her lament. In this instance, her empire was gone. Globgleb's swan song wiped out her entire race, save the contents and her lone heiress, leaving the empire nothing more than a galactic necropolis of floating tombs. So yeah, you might have noticed during Alternia that Solix begins to hear the glub and like literally starts dying, like starts bleeding out of his skull. But Fairy is fine. She's completely unharmed by it. She's like, I don't care. What? Oh. Oh. Dialogue. How much dialogue has there been? Oh, there's been a fuck ton of dialogue. Alt text. Booyah! No, really. Hover your mouse over the banner like this. What the fuck? Oh, hell no. He's talking about ancestors, isn't he? He's keeping little girls locked up in weird rooms and rambling about troll ancestors. I just know it. Not in my fucking comic! Oh, damn. This place is bigger than I thought. Any idea which way he went? Come on, guys. Help me out. I bet he's behind this door. You hear me, Scratch? The jig is up. Aha! Caught red-handed, you bastard. You stop clogging up my story with your troll fanfiction this instant. Ah! That was not the right door. This looks like the right place. The hallway is all round and shit, just like his big stupid head. She was forced to continue the journey home on auxiliary power. Her ship now travels near the speed of light, a pale shadow of its former velocity. It would take her another 612 solar sweeps after the glove to reach her destination. She would arrive any minute now, and when she does, she will find nothing but ruins and dust. If she cared to look closer, she would find a city of slain exiles, a man on the moon and a pair of black lovers locked in a deadly dance. But whether she looks or not, one thing will find her with certainty. A new employment opportunity. My beautiful panels! What has he done? That son of a bitch. It's gonna take so many sweeps to clean up this mess. So very, very many sweeps. Are you paying attention, protege? This is where your role in the story begins. Now stop your pouting and listen. Unless you want another helping to the backside of my... Oh, nuts. I seem to have forgotten my discipline broom. God damn it. He's got a bowl full of these things? He's pulling his snooty horseshit candy bowl stunts to mock my little arrows now. Excellent host to my ass. Anyway, the last of the 12 ancestors arrived a bit late. In fact, she would cross through her portal 6 centuries after the descendants had come and gone. There weren't many left to look after her, so she ended up in foster care. I remember it like it was yesterday, and for one who has as much time on his hands as I, it essentially was. Table flip. Meteor acquire. I would raise the girl to be groomed for her calling. My lessons would emphasize obedience, mastery of clockwork magics, and being locked in a room. As you must have gathered by now, my employer will enter this universe quite soon. I will then relinquish my custody to him, and she will serve as his handmaid for an eternity to be specified. As you must have also gathered, she has already done so. Though her most common of blood should have let her expire in just a dozen or 2 sweeps, his curse kept her very much alive, and she did not intend to stay that way. Oh my god, how can these things possibly be so delicious? His curse is one of conditional mortality, with the desired outcome contingent on her service. When I release her, she will take her place at his side and travel through time to carry out his orders, while I'm his weapon of subtlety and precision. The handmaid is strictly an apparatus of terror and suffering. We have both paved the road to his arrival, I in my way and she in hers. She would be present during every watershed moment in her civilization's development. Her recurrence in history would earn her the reputation of a demoness, more feared than even her master. A man, though dreadful, rarely makes himself seen. She stirred up class warfare and intensified bigotry in whatever era she haunted. She made sure the descendants would enter a world which prepared them well for the game, and took measures to see that they would play as they did. But once they entered and their world was in ashes, her work was nearly complete. Now, 6 centuries later, she would be given one last order to follow before her curse was lifted. A simple recruitment job. The handmaid would enlist the conducts, extending the same bargain once offered to her. it will be the sort involving neither negotiation nor possibility of refusal, expressed in terms plainly understood by the psychotic genocidal. The contents will serve as her new master's witch, carrying out his work in the places he cannot reach. Stuff. Well, better go easy on these. Might need some later. Sneak. There you are. Go ahead. Keep talking, cue ball. I got you in the crosshairs of my broom bristles. I got you, pompous motherfucker. The last two trolls alive, Blood of Rust and Royalty, will make each other pay for the crimes against their race. Their payment will be mutually dealt in the currency of punishment and reward all at once. The Condens will be rewarded with power and immortality her new service entails, and punished by the grueling slavery for which it is synonymous. And you, young lady, are to be punished by death at the hands of your replacement. And so too will this be your reward. Tick-tock, 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 my heartbeat falls in rhythm with the clocks as I draw close to my prey. I leave nothing to chance, for you see it is the most dangerous prey of all. A 4-foot-tall asshole in suspenders who won't shut the fuck up. Wait for it, hussy. Wait for it. And so, my dear, that is the inspiring tale of your people, and why you should feel rather privileged to be in the position for which I have groomed you meticulously. Are you not grateful? Yes, surely you are, and it warms the soft, fluffy material in my chest to know this. What is it? What are you looking at over there? Of course, the clock. I can see you have a good eye for a fine timepiece. Your exemplary taste is certainly owed to a quality upbringing. Perhaps you wish to know the history of the clock and how I came to possess it? Yes, I can see the sparkle of curiosity in your eye. It's a marvelous tale, one almost as long as it is verbosely told. Where do I even begin? Dong! Trip. Story time's over, windbag. Whoops! Ah, shit, get this fucking clock out of my way. I'm a one-man stampede, and I got a broom, and that peal of splintering wood you hear is the last gasp of a priceless antique disintegrating beneath the outrageous fury of my authorial hooves. Bat, 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 bat. If I have to put up with one more of your smug, meandering interludes in my own story, I'm gonna crack your head open and serve you a heaping bowl full of your downy, soft puppet ass. How do you like that for hospitality, Doc? I believe you will find that as host go, I am simply the best there is. Everybody's totally fed up with your condescending, self-indulgent narrative style. They all want to go back to my slightly less condescending, slightly more self-indulgent style. See, even that little girl's had enough of your shit. Run, Aradia's ancestor, run! You've locked up on your last Asian schoolgirl, you sick fuck. You don't flop around at me like that. Are you listening, little man? Oh no. Girl. Spike. Suckers. Booyah. Huh? You there, girl. I guess he is just a limp, lifeless puppet when I'm around. Like a reverse Calvin and Hobbes kind of thing. That's a little disturbing. Oh well, might as well just get the disc back. I wonder if I could just sort of reach up into it and... Girl, quit all this scurrying around. Reach. Do you believe you can escape me before I arrive? What the hell? Looks like he's had the disc repaired for a while already, but didn't tell us. Motherfucker just loves the sound of his own voice. How do you expect to outrun me? When I am already here! Snop. Ollie's outie. Fuck. No, you dumb homo tool. You're snopping wrong. Oh, Christ. Got to church. Dong. Pune. Jesus fucking Christ. No, you dumb homo tool. You're praying wrong. A cluster inspection. Rog. Christ. No, look. Fuck. Dude, no, look, no. It's not that hard. Good lord. Okay, you're obviously doing this just to piss me off. Jesus, dick. Fuck. Jesus Christ. Unsnop. Insert disc 2. Okay, now is this a real loading screen or a fake loading screen or a real fake loading screen? I don't know. Fucker keeps us guessing, I guess. Oh god. I guess we're going to the carnival then. Pap, 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 pap. Shoosh. Pap. Pap. Shoosh. Shoosh. Pap, 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 pap. Bloodshed averted. Behold, the mysterious powers behind Moira legions. Pale mates for life. And the Knight of Blood so embraced the Bard of Rage, and in each other's arms they were aquiver, and with righteous pap and blessed shoosh, he did quell his brother's fury. For the knight looked upon his bard all acting up and completely losing his shit, and he did resolve to calmeth his juggalo ass right the fuck down. And so calm down his juggalo ass was, and would continueth to be for all time. And the knight, in totally settling a murderous clown's ludicrous shit, down proper said that there be more real legions, and it was so. And between moirails would flow bounteous mirth, and they did hug bumpeth plentifully, and honks of reconciliation echoed far and true into the darkness upon the face of the deep. Andrew Hussey, close tone. And it was good. Recap 4. Nah, fuck this. The last recap I wrote was that really big one, the white ink, and Jade had just hupped her dead dream self into Beck Sprite for prototyping. Then Jade Sprite flopped around and destroyed the column supporting the laboratory, and the big ball fell and bounced off the house and rolled down the snowy hill. And then she started crying, and no, fuck this. Click the singular panel. Next time.